Set in 1960s Baltimore, Hairspray 2007 follows Tracy Turnblad and her pursuing her dreams to be a dancer on the Corny Collins show. Other reviews you will see will focus on like the music, the acting, the all of that sort of post-production, all of those interesting elements in terms of like how a film is made. But within this review, I'm going to be focusing more specifically on social commentary. The songs, these are classic songs that people often look to when it comes to musicals. Like we often think about Tracy Turnblad or Hairspray, but reflecting back on this film, I started to see a lot of errors that when I was younger, I did not notice at all. The film opens with Good Morning Baltimore, and Tracy is sort of, joyfully walking through the streets on her way to school. Now, you straight away see the themes of dreams, of acceptance, of just finding your place in the world, which is a very relatable theme that we often see in stories, musicals of all kinds. The director was aiming to create a sort of utopian ending to what actually happened about the original Buddy Dean show and the reaction that people had, the white community had, when the show was desegregated for one event on one day. And they experienced violence. There was people doing those petrol bombs and things like that. So that is reality. So the director or the original creator wanted to challenge that. But in my opinion, is a disservice to the Black community at that time in Baltimore, whose voices are removed from this era and the story of the film completely, and instead shuffled as to the back as almost like a concept or an aesthetic and overall people for Tracy to save using dance. And that's just something that I can never be behind. I will go through some of the scenes which particularly stood out to me and just highlight my thoughts. But I would be lying if I said that this film doesn't give me
I was born in the wrong era
energy. Moving on to the next area, the conflict that is between Corny Collins himself and Velma Von Tussle. It kind of encourages that, the dominant group, mainstream society, to withhold their responsibility when it comes to racism, because we're constantly juxtaposing Tracy from Velma Von Tussle. It's just seen as there's good ones and there's bad ones. And then we have the contrast of Penny Pingleton's mum, so Amanda Bynes' character's mum, to Edna Turnblad. And I think, that oversimplifying understanding of racism is irresponsible, because then people do not do the work. The privileged people do not do the work that they need to. And that's one thing that really stood out to me about the film. In order for things to be improved, it's about all of the privileged people recognizing their ability to harm and how they have benefited from the harm towards Black people for generations. Another key scene is when Edna Turnblad says, "They do not pick girls like me or Tracy, girls like us." And this is when Tracy informs her that she would like to be a dancer on the Corny Collins show, but she's worried for her. She's worried that she's going to get hurt, and she's worried that she'll be rejected. Yes, fatphobia is a real issue, and I think that it is highlighted to some extent within the film, but then the film contradicts itself by using the fat suit and then the constant fat jokes throughout the lyrics with Edna and how Tracy is treated. There's still that dehumanization, which then people will see and mimic. And it's not specifically just about Hairspray, but it's about how the media has an influence in how we treat and see each other. At the same time, she's still a white woman, and I think that the film almost tries to make it seem as if because Tracy is an outcast, she understands what it means to be Black, and that she can be the leader of a movement towards ending segregation, when that would never feasibly be her role. Moving on to Tracy's audition, she is confronted with Michelle Pfeiffer, Velma von Tussle. In one of the lyrics is, "No dessert for Miss Baltimore Crab." And she looks down at Tracy. She judges Tracy. She's like, "Oh, look what we have here. They would not survive in my day. They don't compare. Like, what is happening to this generation?" It's that type of tone to her song and her performance. Tracy is then asked, "Would you swim in an integrated pool?" And she responds, "I sure would. I'm here for integration. It's a new frontier." Like that. And I'm just like, oh, this film is so cheesy. Tracy coming to save the day again. She's coming. She's the good girl. She's launching the fight against racism. We have little side areas where we get to see the experiences of Black people and how they feel, but it's so short. And instead, we're bombarded with Tracy and how Tracy feels. She's the center of racial discussions this entire film. We know what Black Americans were facing at this time, yet in order to have a utopia, we're constantly framing it around the white protagonists and what they feel and what they desire. But is that the utopia that we would all want? How would a Black director have reimagined this era to end up? It would not have been like this. We then have this in the context of Penny meeting Seaweed, and this is a trope that we often see in a lot of films and a lot of stories, in interracial relationships being framed as radical, as something that's so challenging. Interracial relationships, once again, do not cure racism, but I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like in the way that the film is constructed, it's to make a white mainstream audience comfortable, and their understanding of that relationship is going to be in a way that they are then going to, in real life, see interracial relationships as a sign of racism ending. And this then overlooks fetishization. It overlooks the role that race plays in interracial relationships. Penny herself says,
"Being invited places by colored people feels so hip."
like, she literally said that. And that's what happens when you boil down a time period to hair and outfits and suits and, you know, a specific sound. And I understand, you know, the Black community wanted to escape through this film. It makes sense. Like, I understand why people enjoy Hairspray. When you actually critically look at it in terms of what it is saying, it has a lot of issues in allowing dominant culture to get off scot-free in terms of their role in how society is. One of the final scenes in this film is around Queen Latifah. You know, the show has been cancelled and they were just going to accept it, right? And Tracy comes up with the idea, why don't we march? Why don't we march against the inequality that you're experiencing? Have Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah's performance is amazing, of course. Part of me felt like, do I even need to mention it? Tracy whacks the policeman on the head with a protest sign. Okay? She's confident. That privilege is really gives her the energy to just do whatever she wants. That is, I'm getting a lot of that energy through this scene. And, you know, everyone's like, Tracy, no, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. And the police officer responds, "You assaulted a police officer. Take them all away," right? And as her friends, her Black castmates are getting roughed around, Tracy runs all the way back to Penny's house. She's gone. She's left them there with the police.
Is Tracy as much as an ally as she thinks she is?
In conclusion, you know, the new Miss Hairspray is a Black girl overnight, Everyone in the white audience is cheering. They're like, yeah, Tracy, yeah.
The little girl that wins, and the show is desegregated and everything is better.
And I think one of the last things I wanted to say is that our story should be told without centering whiteness. We revolted, we fought for societal progress you see today. But to imply we need saving and to promote the comfortability of the dominant culture and allowing them to be a hero fails to adequately address the difficulties faced by Black people globally and the role all white people must play to resolve it. Overall, my last words, I just wanted to say that, you know, the white savior trope is very damaging and it has consequences. So what do you think of Hairspray? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you think below and follow me at Instagram. Subscribe,